Sido knew the reason for Kalliowski's visit the minute she entered the library. Her father, his face funereally grim, walked towards her just as a stone was thrown at the window, breaking it and spraying glass onto the Persian rug. The Marquis stopped and stared transfixed as if the stone were a fragment from a comet. "You've brought this on yourself," said Kalliowski. "Fortunately for you, today they're out for bigger fish." He touched Sido's face. She recoiled from him, stifling the words that were about to erupt from her. She knew that silence was her only means of survival. Such soft skin. Velvety like rose petals. "Still too thin," he said. Sido stood stock still, hardly daring to breathe, Kaliowski's hand now resting on her neck. "I take it that you agree to this marriage," he said. "Have I any choice?" asked the Marquis. "No," said Kaliowski. "It was, and it always will be, checkmate." Outside, the women shouted,
"We want liberty! We want bread! Give us what we want, if you value your head!"
Mr. Trippin had turned out to be an excellent tutor. By now Jan could read and write, was accomplished with sword and pistol, was a graceful dancer, and proved to have an uncanny way with even the wildest of horses. His great love, though, remained the theatre. It was here that he felt the closest to Tetu and home. He would spend many an evening with Mr. Trippin, watching famous actors performing Shakespeare and Sheridan, but the shows he loved best always touched on magic. He had seen the great illusionist Catafelto perform tricks with dice, cards, money boxes, medals, and glasses, claiming that he knew the secrets of the occult. But the magic Jan wanted to understand, Tetu alone had performed. He felt sure that such magic came from deep within. It must be a force as powerful as anger, grief, or love. You had somehow to connect with it to make it work. It did not rely on sleight of hand, or baggy trousers from which a never-ending stream of handkerchiefs appeared. Today, as Jan walked through Covent Garden, the sun was shining watery bright. He had finished his fencing lesson and had a tingling of tiredness and a good hunger. He was on his way to his favourite coffee house to pick up the latest news when he saw a young couple, brightly dressed, with shining rings in their ears and silver buttons on their clothes, speaking a language that he understood. The girl smiled at him. "Would you like me to read your fortune, sir?" she said. "Cross my palm with silver." Jan laughed and answered in Romany, "Not now." The girl and the young man looked surprised. Taking in Jan's fine clothes, they asked uncertainly, "Santu Rom? Are you a gypsy?" For a moment Jan hesitated. Then he said, "Da, pralo." "Yes, brother," accepting at long last the truth of what he was saying. "Glad to meet you, brother. I am Talo Cooper, and this is my wife Orlando." They shook hands, and the girl, smiling sweetly, asked, "Are you from the royal city?" "No, I am not from London. I'm from Paris, the city across the water." After a while, Jan walked away, looking back over his shoulder as Talo started to play his violin, the sound of his music filling the piazza with its sweet, aching melody. Jan sat in the coffee house and ate his meal in silence. In his head he was floating in a soundless sea of unanswered questions, driftwood for the mind. He stood up, his plate unfinished, paid for his meal, and left. As he walked away, he thought about Tetu, and wondered if the magic and the answers he was hungry for lay not in the theatre, but with the gypsies themselves. There was also another reason for seeking them out. This one was less simple. A tangle of feelings that, try as he might, he couldn't untie.